Something fundamental is breaking in professional golf right now, and nobody seems to care enough to stop it. The PGA Tour is canceling beloved events, and fans are completely done. For 56 years, January meant one thing: Hawaii. The Sentry tournament kicked off every single season at Kapalua. It was tradition. It was the reset button. Fans watched those ocean views in the middle of winter and dreamed. Now it's gone. But that's only the beginning. At the exact same time, Bryson DeChambeau, one of the biggest stars who helped build LIV Golf, is secretly meeting with other organizations to explore leaving. He's frustrated, he's injured, and he's realizing the money doesn't matter if the entire sport is falling apart. Here's what's really happening. The PGA Tour is erasing its history while its biggest stars are running for the exits. The scheduling is broken. The traditions are disappearing. The top players won't even compete together anymore. This isn't just about losing tournaments. This is about watching an entire era collapse in real time. If you care about what's actually happening in golf, you need to understand this moment. Let's break it down. So let me paint a picture for you of what we're actually losing here. The Sentry wasn't just another tournament on the calendar. It was the moment every golf fan had been waiting for since November. You'd be freezing somewhere in the middle of winter, snow outside, coffee in hand, and then you'd turn on the TV, and boom, there it was, blue ocean. Palm trees, wide fairways stretching into the distance, players swinging freely without pressure, no desperation, just pure golf. That feeling, that's what Kapalua gave us every January for 56 years. It was the visual escape we all needed. While the rest of the world was dealing with cold and darkness, golf fans had this one sacred moment where they could watch the best players in the world do what they do best, in paradise. Parker McLaughlin, one of the event organizers, actually said it perfectly. People loved escaping into that visual of sun, ocean, and warmth, especially during winter. And now, that's gone. Starting 2027, Hawaii is no longer the season opener. The tradition is over, but here's where it gets worse, because this isn't just about losing a pretty backdrop. Think about what Kapalua actually represents in golf history. In 1983, Isao Aoki holed out for an eagle to win the Sentry. That moment lived in golf forever. Then you had Ernie Els in 2003 becoming the first player to ever win both Hawaii events in the same season. The Sony Open, by the way, has been around since 1965. We're talking about nearly 60 years of moments that shaped how people fell in love with this game. Those back-to-back tournaments in Hawaii weren't just golf. They were part of the identity of the PGA Tour itself. And Hideki Matsuyama, he shot 35 under par at Kapalua, the lowest score relative to par in PGA Tour history. That's the kind of thing that makes a course legendary. But the tour doesn't see it that way anymore. The official reason? Drought conditions. Maui is facing severe water shortages. Kapalua needs massive amounts of water to keep those fairways perfect. And the state basically said, we need this water for people, not golf courses. So they canceled it. The Sony Open is also being pushed out, possibly moving to the PGA Tour Champions Circuit, which is basically saying it's moving to a second-tier tour for older players. That's not the same thing. That's not even close. And while the tour tries to frame this as a scheduling decision, the real impact is staggering. According to the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, those two events brought in up to $100 million in revenue annually. That's tourism jobs, that's hotel bookings, that's flights. That's the entire Hawaiian economy getting a massive boost every January because of golf. West Wailai, a golf analyst who actually understands what this means, pointed out that losing these events isn't just about money. It's about visibility. It's about inspiration. It's about what it means for the next generation of players coming out of Hawaii. How do you inspire young golfers in Hawaii when the PGA Tour is basically saying, your home isn't important enough to us anymore? Even the people who ran those events felt the weight of it. Stephanie Smith talked about how meaningful those years were. The partnerships, the connection to Maui, the relationships built over decades. But when she spoke about the future, there was nothing. No answers, no, we'll figure this out. Just silence. So when you step back and look at it, this isn't a scheduled change. This is the PGA Tour closing the book on one of its most iconic traditions, the kind of thing that quietly changes how the entire season feels. The kind of thing that makes fans realize nothing is sacred anymore. But here's the thing that really gets to me. While the PGA Tour is moving on from one part of its identity, there's another situation unfolding right now that could completely reshape the future of golf in a totally different way. And this one involves tension, secret meetings, big money, and a name that's been right in the middle of the golf world for years. This one is about chaos. Everything right now is centered around Bryson DeChambeau. And it's starting to feel like we're watching a situation that could explode at any moment. During Masters Week, according to a report from The Athletic and journalist Brody Miller, DeChambeau was holding meetings with multiple organizations to explore his options. Not casual conversations, real meetings about what happens if he leaves LIV Golf. That's a massive deal because we're not talking about just any player. This is one of the biggest names tied to LIV. He helped define that league. He's one of the reasons it exists, and now he's essentially shopping around. The timing makes it even more suspicious. There's growing speculation that the Saudi Public Investment Fund might pull funding after this season. Nothing is confirmed, but the fact that this is even being discussed changes everything. If the Saudi money dries up, LIV collapses. It's that simple. Then you look at what just happened in Mexico City at Club de Golf Chapultepec. DeChambeau was clearly frustrated from the start. He was caught on camera complaining about course conditions during the first round, and you could see it all over his face. Then it got worse. He withdrew on Sunday, citing a wrist injury after a frustrating week overall. But here's what really matters. The report suggests that if he leaves LIV, he could look at returning to the PGA Tour or joining the DP World Tour. We're not talking about some mid-tier player making a lateral move. We're talking about a possible contract situation worth around $500 million. DeChambeau has built massive leverage through his YouTube success, which means he's thinking beyond just golf. He's thinking about his brand, his future, his legacy. And as soon as this report spread, other LIV players reacted fast. Lee Westwood dismissed it, saying it was just another week of nonsense. Ian Poulter went even further, calling the reports an astonishing amount of nonsense and saying it was disappointing. There's clear pushback inside LIV, but at the same time, something bigger is happening. You don't hear that kind of defensive reaction unless there's real concern underneath. Now, bring the PGA Tour into this. Earlier this year, they created a pathway for players to return. That's how Brooks Koepka made his way back after leaving LIV. Other big names like Cameron Smith and Jon Rahm were eligible. Even DeChambeau himself was eligible, but chose not to return at that time. But that decision might look very different now. Brian Rolap, the PGA Tour executive, actually addressed the situation on the Pat McAfee show. He didn't give a clear answer, but he made something very clear. They are watching closely and ready to respond if opportunities appear. That's not a denial. That's a door slightly open. That's a tour preparing to make moves if the right moment comes. And all of this is happening while LIV is trying to project stability, while also admitting it can't keep offering massive guaranteed contracts like before. That's a shift. That's a league that's starting to panic. DeChambeau is right in the middle of it. He's expected to return for the next LIV event at Trump National Golf Club in Virginia. But that almost feels secondary compared to everything happening around him. Because this is not just about one player making a decision. This feels like a turning point in the entire professional golf situation. The PGA Tour and LIV Golf are at a crossroads and nobody knows what comes next. When you connect both stories together, it becomes even clearer what's actually happening. The PGA Tour is moving away from a 56-year tradition in Hawaii, something that defined the start of every season. At the same time, one of the biggest stars linked to LIV Golf is surrounded by uncertainty, frustration, and real questions about his future. That's not random. That's not two separate problems. That feels like a tour reshaping itself while the rest of the golf world is trying to adjust. It feels like an entire sport in crisis, and the people running it don't even realize how bad it's gotten. This is the beginning of a really important moment for professional golf, the kind of moment that changes everything. So here's what I want to know. What do you think happens next? Do you think the PGA Tour is making the right move, leaving Hawaii behind? And if DeChambeau has the chance, should he actually come back to the PGA Tour? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you actually care about real golf conversations like this, hit that like button and subscribe. We're building something here for people who understand that what's happening right now matters. This is just getting started, and we're chasing those first 10,000 subscribers because golf fans deserve to hear the truth about what's going on in this sport.